I'm
Welcome,
live.
ITBOG. Mitch, talk to us. Tell us who you're with.
What's happening, ITBOG? I'm Mitch. I'm with Print Partner, and I'm super stoked to be talking to you. Scott,
Yes,
thanks, man.
awesome. We're stoked to have you. Tell us about Print Partner. What is Print Partner? I know you guys are new sponsors this year, and we're super excited to have you, but I've
Yep.
never heard of managed print. What is managed print?
Oh man. Well, managed print. I was 20 years in MSP. I built and
Mhm.
sold 2 MSPs over 20 years, and for the last 10 of those years, I had a partner, a go-to partner that I worked with for all print. I was looking through my client base and seeing that there was 20 different print vendors in the area that were working with most of my clients, but I didn't have a relationship with any of them. And this one company came to me and said, "Hey man, can we work with your clients on print? We just always, we're a copy company. We just do manage print. We, help with print workflow.
Sure.
And we'll reward you for the introductions. We'll pay you if we sell anything." And I was like, well, sure, that's great. Like, I was a small MSP. Any extra income was great. Even if it was like $250, I was pleased to get it. So I started introducing them to my customers over time, and next thing you know, they're sending me checks for $2,000-3,000 for just for making an introduction. And I was like, wow, this is a really good relationship. So over the course of 5 or 6 years, I introduced them to pretty much every one of my clients. And some of them there was deals to be made, and other ones there was no deal. They lost the opportunity. But what I discovered is over time, I was able to replace a good portion of the print vendors throughout my client base with a company that I trusted. And through that, I got the benefits of, one, getting paid. Two, I didn't have to worry about this company trying to poach my clients because they don't offer MSP services. And then I also, had the benefit of a more collaborative support. So after I sold my last MSP in 2018, and I worked with them for a couple of years, I then hung my shingle, and this company, Green Office Partner, said, "Hey, dude, you did great work for us. Like, you brought in some great accounts. Why don't you work with us and start talking to the MSP community? We've been trying to build a relationship with the MSP community for 5 years, but we just don't know, we don't know how to make it work. We don't know what the pain points are." I said, "I sure do." And I came up with the idea of Print Partner. And it's basically, Print Partner is a sales channel. It's a partner channel between MSP and my parent company, which is Green Office Partner. We develop a relationship with MSP all over the country. The relationship is based on connections and referrals. So when we establish a relationship with an MSP, we get to know each other, learn a little bit about the business. The MSP then's like, okay, we've got X amount of customers that we think have a robust print environment. We'd like to make an introduction to your company, and then from there, see if we can make a deal. See if you guys can help sell print to that environment. And what you get in exchange as an MSP is you get $250 for an introduction, whether we get the deal or not. As soon as we get an agreement for them to meet us with over Zoom or in person, we'll send you a $250 Amazon gift card. And then if we seal the deal, we'll send a check for $1,000 for every single A3 device that is placed in the client environment. And we'll send 5% of the print allotment, recurring revenue, evergreen, for the life of the client. So that's what we do.
And I'll tell you, if that's not a sweet deal, I don't know what is.
I mean,
because
right?
I've ran an MSP now. Well, I've ran my own IT business. We won't say that it's an MSP. It was an MSP for 15 years. It certainly wasn't. But how many times we don't sell commercial printers? How many times was I at a client that was having printer issues, needed to get a new printer, but that was never in our wheelhouse. We weren't printer folks. We certainly knew how to fix printing problems in Windows, but we weren't printer people. So we don't want a stock inventory of $10,000 printers. It's just not something that we felt like we needed to specialize in. So that's really nice. So with your solution, it allows us to have the sales force of a full-blown printer company. So even if we don't understand the printer technology as a business owner, we just know our client has a need. Then we can put it in your hands and you guys will do the work.
Yes, exactly right. So I always felt as an MSP that I had like so many different packages. I had my backup and disaster recovery package. I had my antivirus package, my SOC, my NOC, I had, all these different aspects of the business that I had partnerships in place for, and I have to manage them. I never wanted print because it was like, I mean, who wants print? Print sucks, right? Like seriously, like it's a time suck. As an MSP, I got some schlocky print company coming into a client environment, dropping off their printer, and then it's my problem when they didn't set up scan to email, they didn't do this, that, or the other, and then I got to deal with it. So as an MSP, I got my front line burning time on the client printer. I don't benefit from it. And then who else? Who gets blamed when the printer takes a dump? Who gets blamed for it? Does the print company get blamed?
Usually not.
No, the MSP. So I never, print was always just one of those things. It's just like, damn it. Like, okay, here I go, another 3 hours on an HP trying to get scan to email set up for it. Like, why do I got to do that? Like on a flat rate agreement. So yeah, we do the sales, we do the service, we do the replenishment, we do pretty much everything, and we collaborate with support. So instead of playing ping pong with your client, if they call, so usually I'll just tackle this, who gets the support call first, right? Your team or my team. We recommend that they call you first because you got the keys to the castle. And if within 5 minutes your due diligence doesn't get the issue resolved, then you can pull us in, collaborate with us. You can put the customer on hold or tell them to call them back, call us up. We're going to work directly with you, and we'll work directly with the customer. But it's not going to be a situation where we're like, well, call your IT vendor, and then they call your MSP, and then you're like, well, we did what we can here to take it back to your print vendor, and then we're like popping the person back and forth. We actually
nobody wants to play the blame game. I hate that.
Yeah, we'll
triage. You have to
triage.
prove as a provider, you have to prove to the other provider it's their fault.
Yeah.
So it's really not a situation I like being in, but no, that's great. So if we, because let's face it, if you know what you're doing and you're a good consultant, then you probably can fix most printer issues that your clients have. Like you said, in the first 5 minutes, but oh goodness, it's the ones that you don't fix in the first 5 minutes that you look back in the ticket times, you're like, oh my goodness, I've been working on this for 4 hours now. That would be beautiful if we could just pick up the phone right in the beginning. Hey, we did our due diligence. We're getting stuck here. So like having your own help desk for the printer support side.
Totally throw it into our lap, literally. Like you could, we say just, if you get, you spend that 5 minutes, you're like, well, the spooler's clean, I've checked the print server, or, the local driver, I've replaced it, even if you've done that, and, we're still not getting anywhere. But you can ping the device, the basic stuff, and you can log into the web interface. At that point, just back off. You can either forward the support request to us, or you can call our support team and triage, get us involved. We'll take it from there, and then we'll just pull your team in as needed to walk it down the rest of the line. And if we need admin creds or something like that, we're not going to send the client back to you saying they need this. We're going to call you and say, check it out. This is what we've done. This is, what we're trying to accomplish, and we need X, Y, and Z to get it done. That's it.
Gotcha.
Rinse and repeat.
It sounds like you're just there as backup if needed, and that's really nice. So yeah, that would work really well.
We've also got a nationwide service network, so and it's not just a hodgepodge network of MSPs that we work with. So we lead with Xerox, we fill the gaps with HP, and so through Xerox we have Xerox employees who are the folks that show up all over the continental and U.S. and we also are in Hawaii. We're about to be in Alaska. But we're in 46 states right now, and we have a 4 to 24 hour on-site response time for any parts replacement, depending on where you're at. So if you're in Detroit or if you're in Fort Lauderdale, you're going to have somebody there really quick. If you're in 4 hours from the nearest gas station, you might wait 24 hours. And then for the HP, we work with a national service network that is specifically for print, and it's not just a loose network of MSP. We will never send another MSP into a client environment swinging a screwdriver. It's going to be somebody there that's purpose built for the task at hand.
Mitch, so do you guys do any other brands other than HP or Xerox?
At present, we don't.
Okay.
Xerox being like the leader, the most recognized brand, they used to say, make a Xerox of that. We feel we're working with a couple of really strong brands. It is on our roadmap to explore other companies. So we might find ourselves working with Canon in the future, or Ricoh. We're not committed to any one at present, but at present we work specifically with Xerox and with HP.
Who makes Copy Star?
Oh man, probably one of the other fellas in the company could tell you that, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of Copy Stars we see that I see from our clients locally here in my area
Yeah.
in South Carolina.
Well,
So
I think there's some brands that like are Ricoh that are white labeled. So
okay.
sometimes you'll get a machine that is the same machine, and you'll see a different badge on it across client environments. I've definitely
Gotcha.
seen that in the past.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Kind of like we MSPs do backup, white label backups and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, makes total
Yep.
sense. Awesome. Well, Xerox has been around for a long time, and we all certainly know HP.
Yeah.
What is the smallest HP printer that you guys work with?
You name it. I mean, literally, like we also take print environments under management. So not every client that our MSP referral partners introduce us to are ripe for a complete refresh. In fact, sometimes we might get introduced to an environment where we have one big stand-up copier and 15, 16 desktop printers. And we see HP LaserJet 2s still out there, man. We see these things that are just cranking it out.
I've still got a LaserJet 4 I use every day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
you can't feel it.
Man, it's amazing. It's really impressive that HP's made a product that can endure so long. So, when we engage an introduction, we're not just looking to flip a copier. We're actually looking to advise them and talk about, what's their print environment look like? What are their business requirements? What are their pains with print? And we do a holistic look at everything that's cooking with the print and how it integrates with their business, and then we make recommendations based on that. But in the case where you bring me into an environment where they've got one copier and then 15 or 16 printers, we don't care how old it is, how new it is, we'll take it under management and we'll take over replenishment of supplies for it, and until the time that they're like, all right, it's time to replace this stuff, or we can replace these 4 devices with one better, more capable work group printer, then we'll go ahead and introduce new equipment that way. But there's no small size HP that we won't touch.
So if for instance, if we have a small client that has 2 workstations and they don't do a whole lot of printing, typically we don't sell printers. So, we may go to Office Max, Staples, wherever, but that's a sale that we don't make anything on.
Yeah.
We're just there helping our client. So
Yes.
say that's a $500 printer. Can
Yeah.
you actually work with us to get printers like that? Or would that be touching the line of we don't really want to mess with that?
So I love that you asked that question. We just had an MSP referral partner from your group work with us, and I mean, we could hire him tomorrow. He basically practically sold it, right? We do have devices that are closer to the or that are around the $500 mark, but that is not the target. So the example that you brought up, where it's just like a 2 or 3 user environment and they've just got a couple of desktop printers, you're better off just recommending that they continue to go to Staples or Best Buy or wherever. Just because we're not going to be able to show value. There's no margin on the desktop printers, so we can't. All you would end up making on that is the $250 introduction, and then it wouldn't look so great on you if you're like, oh look, you've got this Brother HL 2580, and now we're going to bring in our partner and they're going to try and sell you an $800 or $1,000 device. Right. We might see the value in them getting that device, but most small businesses are just going to be like, whoa,
seems to me like it's a kind of use your own judgment kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're the MSP, you know your client better than anybody. You before we get you involved, we should, you know, probably find out a couple of key questions up front. What are some key questions that you should ask your clients as an MSP to figure out what their print needs would be and if you guys would be a good fit to partner with?
Super. I guess there's some keywords that you would want to listen out for. So, well, one is we're trying to get our MSP referral partners to engage their clients on print. Talk about it during the QBR. We'll create a print scorecard for our MSP referral partners. You know, we can deploy an agent in the print environment and then collect data over a few weeks that will allow us to kind of estimate how much they're printing, how much they're spending on print per year. The questions are, like, you know, are you satisfied with your current print vendor? Are you experiencing any, you know, pain points with print? You know, and then other things are like, hey, when is your agreement up with print? Like, you know, we're grooming MSPs to start asking the question, you know, during onboarding, can we please have your print agreements so that we understand who we can talk to? We're trying to get MSPs to also be proactive, just whether it's working with us or any other. MSP should have this information handy and they should have a relationship with their print vendor. So, and it's important to note that that's something that we're trying to get the word out about. You don't have to work with us. Like, we're a vendor that is, you know, marketing and saying, hey, this is what we do. I think we're the only people in the space that are doing what we're doing. But you, throughout the ITBOG community and myself, when I was an MSP, there was lots of print vendors in the area that you could choose to work with as well. The most important thing that you want is to choose a print vendor that you can trust, meaning they're not going to try and poach your client because they don't offer MSP services. And then another thing that's really nice to have is if they'll pay you, right? If they'll pay you for the introduction, because as an MSP, your relationships, you're the valued technology, you're the trusted technology resource for a business. And so your introduction is worth something. We'd like to reward people in cash and protection.
No,
We're kind of like the
totally makes
mob.
sense what you're doing, and I applaud you for being first on the scene, so to speak, to offer these types of services. If there's another company doing it, I certainly haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Um, so let me ask you a favor then. Would it be possible for you to draft like a template and then upload it to the files section of the ITBOG Facebook group so that people could go there, members could go there if they're getting ready or want to engage print partner to help them get their client a printer, and be able to make commission and all that stuff off of it. Um, could you draft up a one-page template that would just ask all the questions and we just print it out and just fill it out all out, and that way when we just submit the form to you
You
and then it has
betcha.
everything,
You betcha. I'm happy to do that.
and that would be kind
Uh,
of like we'll automate the manual process a little bit. That seems like that would be a great start, because then that stops half the phone calls, the back and forth. Well, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? It's
mhm.
all right there in that template.
Yeah. I think I thank you for that. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay.
One of the things, you know, I think a lot of MSP, at least, you know, most MSP that I talk to, again, they don't want, they're hyper aware of print, but we just, it's like that bastard stepchild in medieval times. Like, nobody wanted to own the printer. Like, everybody had to acknowledge it. Somebody had to take care of it and feed it, but nobody wanted to own it. And we're saying, hey, like, let's change that tune. Let's, you know, why don't you, you're the MSP, you're the trusted technology vendor,
Own it and make money
take
on it.
take ownership of it, right? Like, you know, of course, you know, and especially if you're partnering with us, then you have that solid relationship and you get the reward and all that good stuff. And then, you know, that whole section is taken care of. It's tough to own it when the vendor that is throwing equipment in your client base doesn't really care about you or acknowledge, you know, your business.
So, you know, you were talking about, I think you were talking about earlier, you know, your local, the MSP's local print vendors.
Mhm.
So we have several different print companies that
Yeah.
clients go to purchase, and they
Yeah.
all use, before you guys were around, they all use different ones. So,
Yeah.
you know, we were not really loyal to any of them.
Yeah.
I was in a networking group one time, and one of the owners of one of the operations, pro operations here, he and I had a one-to-one, as they call it. And it was very polite, but he was letting me know that his industry all across America, the printer people are trying to get their foot in the door and take away the IT provider's position. They
Yeah.
want to bring that in-house and offer the
Yeah.
client one solution that includes print as well.
Yeah.
So I almost felt like I didn't believe him at the time, or this guy's just messing with me.
Yeah.
But now that I see everything unfolding, I'm like, yeah, he's probably pretty correct. So, I feel like, this opportunity with Print Partner is a big one because it allows us to compete on his same level or that company's same level
Yeah.
and produce without the heavy investment. I don't have, 10 machines, 10 printers, commercial printers in my shop waiting, to be shipped out. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a match made in heaven. I like it.
I well, I would tend to agree with you, Scott. I think it's great too. I think, it really, if you think about the caliber or the quality that many of the managed print vendors in your area carry about with them to their client space, you can see it in their work. I think you and the ITBOG community might agree that there's a lot of sloppy vendors, a lot of vendors that are just, they're sharks, man. Who really is going out of their way to make time for the copier guy, right? Like
That's right.
it's like going to the dentist. No, it's not an enjoyable interaction, but it can be made more pleasant, and it could be actually made fantastic if you're working with a company that just approaches the whole thing from a different perspective. So if you think about these guys, these copier vendors that are out there, then they decide to open up an MSP so they can use their print company as a feeder for the MSP. You think the quality that they're going to give your clients is any better? I mean, hopefully, we never need to worry about that actually happening, but I'm sure as many members could attest, it does happen. But that protection is, I would think that getting paid would be the number one thing that your members are most interested in, is getting those checks for print. That protection in some areas, in some geographies, is way more important to these MSP that I'm talking to. And I'm like, wow, that's
Well,
cool.
like you said, that's a good word. It's a level of protection to protect the local MSP they can't offer right now, because my company can't offer print services unless I team up with Print Partner.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's great. So are you looking at other brands you did mention other than Xerox and HP?
We are. It's on our roadmap. So by Q4, so we've got a really strong roadmap. So Green Office Partner is the parent company. And so Print Partner itself has its own roadmap, but Green Office Partner is who's making the decision on what brands we work with. And so they've got an incredibly strong roadmap across all departments for 2021, and potentially partnering with other vendors, other print vendors or I should say other manufacturers is on the list. Gotcha. But we're not committed at present.
Well, you said, and I think I saw the post, but you said that an ITBOG member has already engaged you, and already, since you guys became sponsors of the community, you've already worked out a deal with an ITBOG member. They've sold a commercial machine to their client through you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe they said they were bragging. They actually created a post bragging about how easy the process was to work with you, which is great.
I gotta give Craig some props, because he it's almost as if he was born to work with us, and he made the deal really easy for us. And that's what's lovely about this relationship, is that the MSP is almost like, we don't ask a lot of time, right? We ask for an introduction. We'll spend some time. So here's the breakdown. Like, say you, Scott, you got a law firm. They've got 3 stand-up copiers and about 15 small desktop printers scattered throughout. And you say to me, Mitch, check it out. I think there's an opportunity here. I've seen these printers floating around this environment for at least 3, maybe 4 years. I don't know what the opportunity looks like, but when it comes time for them to replace them, I'd like to see if you guys can do it. I say, great. Like, what's the name of the company? I'm going to do a little research on them. I'm going to give you an agent that you can deploy in their environment. That'll give us an idea of or tell us exactly what printers are there, what the metrics are, how much they print, both color, black and white. That information comes back to me. I get one of our sales rep on the phone. We do an absurd amount of background work, researching this client, getting our details together so that I can come back to you with the sales rep and be like, Scott, let's make sure we got our ducks in a row. Here's the law firm you suggested. We've discovered all this information about them. Does this look appropriate? They've got 4 locations. They've got, X amount of employees. And these are their business goals. We understand we're looking at their business a little bit. Does this all fall in line with, is this the right company and all fall in line with what you see? Yes, great. Then we'll give you a print scorecard that takes that information that we pulled from the print agent. And that scorecard tells you how many devices, how many makes, models, what the average age is, what the actual cost that they're paying on average per click for black and white and color. And then it shows the total volume. So we can tell you within 10 to 15% how much they've spent on the lifetime of those devices per year.
Wow.
In print. And you can then take that dollar amount back to the client, then after I show that to you, it also shows you how much value that opportunity is for you as the MSP. So that's a private piece of information that we share with you and say, hey, it looks like this deal could be worth $3,000 to you for the copiers. 5% of their print could be, X amount of dollars. And then it's up to you to say, yeah, this is compelling. I think, and maybe during that time you would have gotten their print contract, maybe not. But really we've done all this work. All you've done is said, Mitch, I got an opportunity. Here's the name of it. We do all of our work, come back to you, say, here in 5 or 10 minutes, here's the rep that I'd like to work on it. Does this information line up? Here's what the scorecard looks like. Does it look like a good thing that make an intro on? If you say at that point, well, dude, I talked to them and their print agreement's not up for another year or 2, great, no sweat. Hang on to that scorecard. We're going to ping you back in about 9 months or 6 or 9 months, and we'll bring the conversation back up whenever you're ready to make the introduction. If it makes sense even at all, do it. If it doesn't make sense, don't sweat it. There's other opportunities.
So I hope I'm not going to regret asking this question, but I hope you can appreciate my honesty. I love everything you just said, but as an MSP, I have to look out for my clients. I have to look out for their security, their data. And I guess my main question to you is, and their networks for sure. My main question is, you mentioned the print agent. Can you tell me, because it just makes me a little nervous if I'm bringing you in and you want to deploy an agent on the network and it does all this discovery. So can you?
We just got it. We bought it from a company in North Korea, really reputable. No, I'm kidding. It's actually it's a company called Print Fleet.
Okay.
Well, first of all, we don't need the agent to do anything, right?
Okay.
The agent is optional. So there's some MSP, and like you guys can have this. I can see this argument going, all day long, but some MSP are like, I've got this environment. I'm already putting tools and other monitoring tools in my RMM and whatever integrations I have that are doing their thing. I got AVIC running. I got this. I got that. So my mentality is like, well, this is just another something that you are using to kind of assess the environment. The agent, it's called Print Fleet, and it's an industry standard. And it's actually the same utility that we would use if we were to take a whole environment under management and it had HP devices. We would use the same utility to alert us when it's time to send some replenishment out to them.
So, well, like you said, it's an industry standard. It's a tool that commercial printing industry uses.
Yes. But we don't even have to use it. Like you might say, like, how about this? 2 weeks ago, one of our MSP referral partners says, hey, we got a client in Traverse City, or no, I'm sorry, just north of Detroit. And they've got like 3 stand-up copiers and a bunch of handful of printers, but they didn't want to install the print agent. No sweat. Don't worry about it. We actually flew out there. So, and we'll fly all over the country to meet with your client and have that walkthrough and assessment. So we'll fly out there.
Awesome.
We'll meet. We'll ask 1 hour at a time. We'll walk through the environment. we'll get printouts from each of the devices, giving us the metrics and everything that we need. We'll talk to the decision makers or whoever is interested and willing to talk to us about, hey, what do you think about the print devices, so we can get some pain and understand, how we can create more value. And that also, that visit also gives us the opportunity to start talking about workflow solutions. So we might be there. It's not just about a printer. So anybody can sell a printer or a copier, but
Sure.
if we find out from the accounting group, yeah, we've got a stack of invoices this tall that every month, Darlene has to go through and, import them all by hand. We'll say, well, guess what? We've got an app that can scan all those and get them into QuickBooks, and then you can review them and have that whole thing done in less than an hour. And then
Okay.
people are just like, so we're actually creating, adding value in getting them time back and making their business easier to run. It could be paper cut, it could be security solutions, so people can badge in and get their print jobs instead of having a ton of HIPAA compliant data sitting there on the printer. It could be a document conversion or a translation app. It could be something where they're just like, hey, everything we scan, they scan it and then they send it to, or Joe scans it to his email, and then he takes the attachment from his email and he puts it on SharePoint, and we could be like,
Yep.
how about this? Let's get a SharePoint, scan to SharePoint button, and it puts it in the full, so it doesn't even have to go to email. Get rid of all that waste.
Okay. I'm kind of looking at some of these notes on Facebook. What else can you tell me about Print Partner? Just give me a random fun fact about Print Partner that nobody knows.
That nobody knows. I use Fiverr to make all of the content, the video content and whatnot. And Fiverr is rocking, man. You can get,
good.
I mean, we don't look world class, but we look pretty good. But Fiverr is a tremendous resource for creating content. You can pay people, a very reasonable amount of money to build stuff. What else? Print Partner. Like
How'd
some
you come up with
companies.
the idea? You said you had the idea. How did you come up with the idea to do this?
Well, when Green Office Partner first asked me to come to work with them, candidly, I was like, hell no, dude, I'm not selling printers. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm going to be an IT director. I'm going, like, I got big plans. But then I actually thought about it over the weekend, and I love the group. I mean, I loved working with them. They were a great company, but I never thought of myself as like, this is not a business segment I want to get into. But then I sat on it for a weekend, and something snapped. I was just like, holy smokes. I'm like, it just kind of opened up. I'm like, there's a gigantic gap between MSP and print vendors. And there's nobody taking care of that. It's just wide open, raw space. And I kept thinking about it. I'm like, if I could educate other MSP about the same deal that I was getting, and it's literally the exact same thing that I benefited from for 8 years, almost a decade, in the MSP space. If I could educate other folks about it, there's no question. It's like such a compelling, conversation. There's no question that we can't, develop a really fantastic, channel here, and the results have been overwhelming. I mean, as long as an MSP doesn't already offer managed print, or have it in house, or have a print partner of their own already, I've never had a bad conversation with folks. It's just as easy as like, I mean, you talk about it, it's just like, yeah, I'll do that. It's been a treat, man. And I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't like passionate about it and totally confident that this was gonna rock out. And the response has been overwhelming. Especially your community's been fantastic. And once people learn what it is, they just let other people know, and then it's really been a treat.
Great. So Mitch, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to try to go back to the Facebook Live and kind of read some comments here and try to answer some questions in real time. There's not a whole lot of questions from Hayes. Hey, Mike Wise. Ariel Askren is asking, when proposing workflow solutions to the MSP clients, do you include the MSP in those conversations so they are aware of changes to the environment they manage?
Oh man, yeah. So that's part of that collaboration.
Okay.
So peep this. We land a deal. The first thing I'm going to do, well, there's two phases. Let's say we land a deal with minus the workflow solution. We land a deal. The first thing I'm going to do is call you up the MSP. I'll say, Ariel, guess what, man? we're cutting a check for $2,000. Congratulations. We got that underway. The next thing that we do is, again, this is that collaboration.
Mhm.
We're going to say, we got a device, our integration team, our deployment team is going to get all their stuff in a row. And then they're going to reach out to the MSP and say, hey, guess what? We've got X amount of devices that are going to be deployed. Here's the time frame for it. And we'd like to include you on the, if you're willing to, we would like to have your participation in the onboarding calls with the customer so that we can have everything going at once.
Okay.
And we'll also get things like, go figure, LDAP information, scanned email information, what's the subnet, all this stuff. So that on day one, when we deploy it, it actually works. Isn't that novel?
That's half the battle.
Then Ariel, for the workflow, yes, the MSP is definitely a valued resource in that conversation. So we dig for pain and identify opportunities that we could potentially add additional value through those workflow solutions, print workflow solutions. But we also realize the value of collaborating with you and bringing you in, because we can't say, hey, like, why don't we would never be like, hey, let's implement SharePoint for you. One, we're not an MSP, we don't do that. But if a lot of times a business owner might not be able to even talk about what they have. So in order for us to make a valuable real world suggestion, we need the input of the MSP.
Okay. So I do have another question. This just kind of just randomly came in my head. So what happens if you are working with one of our clients, one of our MSP clients, and we lose the client?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, our client has this nice printer that they have paid for. Everything's good. We're making commission on it, but now there's still 3 years left on the contract of the printer, and you're no longer their provider. Do we still get commissions off of that for the rest of the time, even though we no longer support that client?
The requirement to getting paid is that you continue to breathe, or that your business stays, that you stay in business. Like, as long as that customer is like, for example, one of my best other relationships is with used to be Jive. Now it's LogMeIn bought Jive, but I'm still getting big fat checks every month from Jive for a business that I brought them 8 years ago. And I haven't had an MSP for 3 years, right? And I'm still collecting. This relationship is evergreen. So if basically whoever brings the relationship to our doorstep gets paid into perpetuity for the life of that relationship.
So they're grandfathered in pretty much.
Yes. So if you introduced us, and so we have some MSP that have integrated us into even their interview process. So they're out prospecting. And then one of the questions they ask is like, hey, tell us about your print environment. How's your print vendor? And then sometimes you get some pain points and they're like, oh, our print vendor sucks, blah, blah, blah. So we actually get emails right after, like out the gate. They'll say, do you mind if we introduce you to so-and-so? We'll get an email less than an hour outside of that interview and introducing us to a customer. So we've had actually deals happen with prospects that never even became customers of the MSP.
Oh, wow.
But the MSP still gets paid. The bottom line is, if you make the introduction, we don't care if it's your grandfather's, plumbing company. We'll pay you on it. If you're not the MSP, we don't care. We'll pay you on it. It'd be
so
ideal.
If time gets slow and the phone quits ringing for a little while, and I'm trying to figure out what to do, I can always just go cold call all the businesses around and say, who get your printer from? So I mean, I could just generate extra money for my IT business that way.
I mean, think about it like this. If you've got what I do is, and what I tell MSP, it's like, think about your client base. If you've got a client that has, they have at least one copier, and you know that it's about to turn, that's $1,000. But if you have a client that has like 5 or 10 locations and one copier at each location, we're going to write you a check for $10,000 over the next 3 years. Or we might be able to flip 4 of them right off the bat. We've got a deal like that right now we're working on. I mean, we've got some fantastic deals. We got introduced to the IT director for North American IT director for a $1.7 billion company. It's international, so not all of it is in the US, but that opportunity alone is going to garner the MSP referral partner.
Brought them in.
They're going to get about $20,000 this year if we land it just on the first year's commission on the equipment. We've got another.
Was that MSP doing any print previously? Were they offering their clients printer services or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's extra added revenue stream for that MSP.
Literally for maybe 2 hours of their time, all in.
Awesome.
And let's say we sell something in a year or 2 years from now, or we increase the print allotments a year or 2 years from now. That money keeps going to the MSP. Every time we hit a deal with these guys, $1,000 per copier. We got another MSP referral partner. They introduced us. I mean, we're getting introduced like mad right now to property management, real estate management companies. And these are places that have trailers all over the country. We got a 60 site opportunity that we're looking at right now. And each site, they don't have stand-up copiers, but they've got big desktop printers. So I mentioned that we don't pay on the A4, the desktop printers.
Okay.
But if you bring us an opportunity that has like 20, 30 of these desktop printers, we're going to figure something out and make it worth your while. We're going to pay you for it. So the unofficial, non-written agreement here is that, let's say you bring in one big copier and there's 3 desktop printers.
Okay.
That we sell to. We'll throw in an extra $100 for every desktop printer, but we're not putting it in ink because there's no margin on the desktop printers. But if there's at least one big copier, we've got some room to do even better by you.
Gotcha. Sounds like you guys are extremely fair. That's
you.
Awesome. So we've got another question here. I want to go ahead and ask it to you, and I'm not sure I understand the question, but maybe you will. So Donovan Huff asked, elephant in the room question. What's the differences between Xerox copier program and print partners?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not, so I come from the MSP side. So my copier, my knowledge of the copier space is everything that I've been able to kind of suck up for the past, 6 months that we've been in running as print partner. But from what I understand, so you can work with, another option MSP have is to partner with any number of companies that'll help you do per click. I don't know exactly what the program entails, but here's some variations on the theme that I've heard of. There's one theme where you can, as the MSP, can do the legwork to find out what requirements your clients have for print. And then you can start offering replenishment services and get paid on the toners and just have, you would put print fleet out there. And so then the MSP just be on the hook for managing it. That's more overhead. You got to make sure that you're replenishing the toners or this, that, or the other.
Right.
There's also, Xerox has had a few programs of which I thought that they've abandoned a lot of them. They've tried in different ways to get into the MSP space, but unsuccessfully. I'm sorry, I guess I don't have a good answer for that.
That's okay. I guess what I'm making out of that is I think they're saying they have they have their own managed print program. And I guess he's saying, so what's the difference between what you're doing and what they're doing?
I guess it comes down to maybe I can give an answer that will let him answer the question. And the answer is this. So with our program, we're paying $250 for the intro, $1,000 for every device placed, every copier placed, 11x17 copier, and 5% ongoing recurring revenue. So if you take those numbers and match it up against any deal that you're currently doing with another print option, kind of like this Xerox managed print,
manufacturer direct.
Yeah, then see. But also, I guess the other things to take into account is like how much time is your team spending? Do you have to sell it? Do you have to service it? Like what benefits do you get? The thing that I like about ours is it's really, again, it's really almost as simple as like you make an introduction. So your investment in time is minimal. And then otherwise, the investment that you make on the other side after the deal's made is good, because we're helping make sure you don't get more support calls after we deploy it and you haven't been involved. So the time you spend up front, could literally be as little as 15, 20 minutes. And the time you spend during deployment, you might spend an hour with us, but that's better than spending 4 hours trying to fix stuff that it wasn't properly deployed.
Sure, absolutely. So Donovan wrote back after hearing our answers, and he said, what I'm hearing is that Print Partners just does the legwork and makes it easy, plus pays commission.
Yep.
So that's pretty much the difference, I think.
You don't have
you get support. You get Print Partner support if there's a printer issue. You don't even have to deal with the manufacturer support.
Yeah, we offer we do the sales, the service, the replenishment, all on site as required, and we write checks.
And you said you're currently available to work with MSPs in 46 of the 50 states?
Well, in any of them. We have clients in 46. Yeah.
Oh, so you have clients in all 46, or in 46 of the 50, but you can support all 50 states. If it's US, you can take care of it.
We were just in Hawaii for 4 days, visiting a bunch of clients that we had out there. I wasn't on that trip, but I wish I was. We've got we got some of Spielberg's operations in California, which is really cool. We've got auto dealerships all over the country. We've got hospital systems. We've got, I mean, you name it. We're in every vertical. We're heavy in New York. We're heavy in Florida. We're definitely all over the Midwest. Yeah.
So I have kind of a random crazy question to ask you while I'm waiting on some other comments maybe to come in. So with Print Partner, what makes Print Partner? I'm trying to come up with the best way to put this. I tell you what is the best story you can tell me that you've had an MSP tell you about Print Partner? That's the best way I can put it.
Oh man.
What's the best compliment you've received?
I mean, the best compliment is, well, we're really new. Okay. And so, we've got a lot of deals. We've written a lot of checks, and we're in the middle of a lot of implementations right now. Mm-hmm. So right now, the best stuff I've heard is like, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. Like that's that when I call up and I'm like, hey man, like I need your W-9 so we can cut you a check for $6,000. People are just like, okay, like I'll do that right away. I'm asking, we're waiting for I want our referral partners to put more feedback into the community to say, hey, this has been fantastic, but I'm asking them also to wait until we're like a little ways down the line, until they get to see exactly how good it is. So sure, they get the check, but that check will hit their mailbox prior to the equipment being delivered, prior to the training and the collaboration and everything else. So, but the feedback that we're getting is fantastic. I mean, everything is positive. I'm so grateful for that. And I know it can't last forever. We're eventually going to hit a snag, but if you talk to anybody that's worked with us or done a deal with us, I think that they're going to just, what they would say to you is that it was really easy to work with them. All I had to do is just, make an introduction to my customer, and they did everything else. I don't have to think about it. And then, a week or 2 or 3 later, I find out the results of it.
Gotcha. Well, that's great. I'm excited. I can't wait for my first deal to come through. I'm trying to go in my head of all my clients and the ones that would have a need for a commercial printer. And we have several. Like I said, we've never offered that service. It's kind of like we've always supported the printer if it was installed by the print provider local.
Yeah.
But I firmly believe that the people who just do print only, mm-hmm. I think they're coming after the MSPs.
Yeah. No, we what I want to do, candidly, is I want to force the industry to align themselves. And these print companies that are bolting on MSPs, I want to hurt their business. I say that only half jokingly, but like, you can't do both great. Like, it's a pure MSP is, we're adding that on. It's a whole different business. It's a whole different sales cycle. And it's a sharky business too, like copiers, just like in general. So you guys, you get the picture. What I want, the things that I say, I think it's completely crazy for MSP to just allow random print vendors to operate in their client environment. You have to have a relationship with them. And and then the other thing I say is you deserve to get paid for, those relationships for print. So take advantage of it.
Well, Donovan, Donovan's going to probably call you because he's got another question here. Well, no, I think he's just agreeing with us. I'm sorry. I thought it was a question, but he said copy or print companies are being purchased by MSPs, FYI.
Yeah.
So if I don't want to go and jump head first into the print business, which I don't, just team up with a print partner.
I also talked to, there's MSPs that I'm talking to that had print businesses, and that we're just like managing it sucks. So now they're asking us to take over their client base, basically saying, hey, we would like to have you guys take over all these print contracts for us. We don't want to hire people we don't want to staff printer techs anymore. We don't want the headache of dealing with the overhead. So right now we're talking with one company that has I don't know, like 100 and some printers across 6 different clients, and wondering if we'd be willing to work out an arrangement where they can just walk away. We take the ownership of the replenishables and the support and everything else, and then we'll pay them as those contracts flip.
Wow, sounds like a deal.
Yeah.
Well, Mitch, thank you so much. Did you have any questions for me? I think I'm out of questions for you.
Man, the only thing I can say is just I could appreciate your hustle. You really do a great job with ITBOG, and I can only imagine the amount of time you have to put into responding and thinking about and curating all the content that you put into the group. So I'm just I'm perpetually impressed. I'm not jealous of the responsibility that's on your shoulders to keep this community thriving, but man, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm really appreciative and grateful. And the community's fantastic. I love jumping in and seeing these lively conversations. So thank you for that.
Well, it's certainly nice having a sponsor like Print Partner on board. So we welcome you guys with open arms. So, well, I'm going to wrap it up. That was great. I guess if anybody has any questions, just reply to this post, and Mitch or myself will get them answered. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks a million.